The program is Peter Schiff from Euro Pacific Capital. And Peter, we're going to do something different today rather than talk about the economy. Let's talk about your possible run for the Senate. Before we do that, just a couple questions. You and I believe in a lot of similar things. We believe in free markets, a sound currency. We believe in capitalism, very minimal government involvement in the economy. These are the things that we believe in. Now, it's my understanding you're thinking if you're running for the Republican Party. But, Peter, I don't know whether it's the Republican Party or the Democratic Party that believes in any of those things anymore. Why not run as an independent?
Well, the main reason that I really wouldn't want to run as an independent is because I actually want to win. I mean, I'm not just running for an academic exercise. I actually want to win. I'm not going to spend all my time and all my effort to run for an office if I can't win. And if you look at the records of winning, I mean, Joe Lieberman was able to pull it off, but, I mean, he was actually an incumbent. He had a huge political machine, a lot of name recognition, and so he won. But that's really the exception, not the rule. And it's just trying to get on the ballot and to be taken seriously by the media if I ran as an independent. And then the problem is, of course, running as an independent, I have to beat the Democrat incumbent, Chris Dodd, and the Republican nominee. And that would be very difficult to do. I think, if anything, I might just get enough votes to give Dodd the election. I don't know that I would get a lot of Dodd supporters to vote for me. So I think a three-way race with two candidates who were, against Dodd, it would split the anti-Dodd voter and give him the election. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to make it easier for Chris Dodd to return for a sixth term. So I think that the only viable place for me to run is as a Republican. And I certainly have a lot philosophically in common with what the Republican Party professes to be. Maybe not what they actually are when they're in office, but their platform, what they run on, what a lot of the Republicans believe in, it's what I believe in. And if you look at Barry Goldwater, if you look at Ronald Reagan, I'm certainly a Republican in the tradition of those two presidents. I'm not really a Republican in the tradition of George Bush, and I'm certainly not a Republican in the tradition of all the Republicans that are currently in the Senate, who voted for the bailouts and who voted for the stimulus. But I think a lot of people within the Republican Party would be very sympathetic to my philosophy.
Let's talk about, so if you're going to run for the Republican Party, there's some big money that's thinking of running for the Republican seat. So you're going to be up against some big money. Now, you've put in $50,000 of your own money. You've raised about $820,000. Congratulations, by the way, on that figure.
Right. I'm looking at my website right now, shiftforsenate.com, and the total is $875,000 and change as we speak, which is actually, I've raised that in less than a month. Now, one of my opponents, the leader in the race, Rob Simmons, who's a former congressman, he reported that in the second quarter of this year, he raised a record $745,000 in one quarter. That was a record for the state in a quarter. I beat that in under a month without even being a candidate. So obviously I've got a lot of support out there, and I think I'm going to continue to get support. And for anybody who's listening to this that wants to donate to my potential campaign, and I've mentioned that for some reason if I choose not to run, I will be returning all the donations. So you don't have to worry that, hey, I'm going to donate and he's not going to run. If I don't run, you get the money back. But it's very probable that I will make an announcement within a couple of weeks. But if you want to help me get over $1 million, you can go to, shiftforsenate.com and make a contribution.
Let's talk about that campaign. Let's say that you raise the money, you announce your candidacy for the Republican seat, and you're running against Chris Dodd, an entrenched politician who has, although I think he defeated the latest ethic charges, he has not been very popular due to a lot of problems involving ethics. The Democratic machine is going to come against you. The president will be behind him. And how do you overcome that?
Well, look, I think that beating Dodd will be easier than beating the other Republicans for the Republican nomination. I think Dodd is a very good candidate for me to run against. I think he's very damaged. First of all, he's been in the Senate his entire life. He started when he was 30 years old in the House of Representatives. He did 3 terms. Then he went to the Senate. He's been there for 5 terms. So that's 36 years in Congress. Before that, he was in law school, and I think he did a couple of years in the Army. But he's never been in civilian employment. He's never had to live underneath the legislation that he passes. And his father was a senator, so he almost inherited it. So mentally, it's like he's, in the House of Lords. He doesn't have a clue, and I think that people are resenting that, and he's obviously been on the take. A lot of big Wall Street firms, and some of them now bankrupt, like Freddie and Fannie and AIG, have been his principal donators, and he's defended them, and he is one of the principal architects of the housing bubble that has now collapsed. And so I think he's an ideal person for me to run against, because I'm running as an outsider, a non-politician. My campaign would be based on the fact that we don't need more career politicians in Washington. That's why the country is such a mess. We need a real entrepreneur. We need somebody who understands economics, someone that respects the Constitution and understands money, somebody that predicted all these economic problems.